Oh, yes, All-American is back. Hope you had a fantastic holiday and bowl season. Welcome into Studio A. Alongside Maria Trivelpiece, I'm Kyle Youmans. So glad you're with us. And, of course, football is now in the books. The 2025 campaign is in the rearview mirror, and we take a look ahead to hoops for the first time today. We get to talk a little bit of basketball as well, but we're going to review bowl season and what it meant for the American Conference before we get things started. Maria, did you have a great holiday season?
I did. I watched a lot of football because our teams were all playing, and there were some good finishes that we're going to talk about today. But yeah, how about you? How was your holiday
It was great.
season?
It was so much fun, and I missed being in here with everybody, taking a look at all the American Conference doings across football and basketball. But I will say, watching bowl season was just as much fun as it ever has been. Some of these games were just down to the wire. They were back and forth, and it took away all of that thought process that a lot of people are trying to push the narrative for right now of bowls don't matter, people don't care. People care, and we saw it day in, day out. The 9 different bowl games that the American Conference participated in went 5-4 in those bowl games, and we're going to break down some of the biggest storylines across those bowl games.
And I think if you don't think that people don't care about bowl games, you should go and watch Jeff Monken's interview after Army won their bowl. And I think that is just one of the coolest things to witness, the way that he was so excited, the way that his team chased him down, trying to get him to get the Gatorade bath in cold Fenway Park. You might see that a little bit later. We'll see, maybe a little bit of a preview, but to your point, it matters. It was a lot of fun to watch, and I can't wait to break it down.
Let's start with the college football playoff as the American Conference has their second team make it to the playoff, the Tulane Green Wave taking on Ole Miss. And, of course, it did not end in the way that the Tulane Green Wave wanted, and part of their loss to Ole Miss in the first round of the CFP. One, Ole Miss is playing some really good football. Who saw that coming going into a national semifinal this week? They've got a chance to punch their ticket to the national championship game coming up. But really, when you boil down to it, I think a lot of what happened in Tulane's loss this time around was what they couldn't afford to do the first time around as well. Allow Ole Miss to establish themselves on offense, control the line of scrimmage, and put up early points because Tulane is not built to play from behind, and they had to play from behind.
Well, I think just that first touchdown from Ole Miss made me get a little bit nervous right off the bat. They scored so quickly. Now, Tulane held them off then as that first half continued. But all that stuff that we talked about when we were previewing that matchup is what happened. And so it sucks for Tulane, but it doesn't diminish the season that they had, especially under John Summerall. He left that place better than he found it. And he even talked about it in his post-game press conference. He said to his guys, look, we're never going to be okay with losing. But I think it's just highlighted so much about what he was able to do in New Orleans, and we wish him the best of luck in his next stop.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the way they played tough in that game, they go down 14-0 early. And then from that point forward, it was really tough back and forth football. They just couldn't get the big play. They couldn't hit on the big play. Same kind of things that they did take advantage of in the American Conference title game against North Texas, they were unable to find against Ole Miss. And credit to Ole Miss, they did not make mistakes. They played good football, but even they didn't light up the stat sheet. Trinidad Chambliss, who's been almost perfect in the college football playoffs so far, both against Tulane and against Georgia, went 23 of 29 passing, 282 yards and a touchdown. But then outside of that, they didn't run the ball like I thought they would. Some of their top guys did. Chambliss, of course, put up 6 yards a carry. Kawan Lacey, who's been great, put up 5 yards a carry. But they averaged 4.5 yards per pop. But they put up 4 rushing touchdowns in the game, and they controlled time of possession. The line of scrimmage is where Tulane lost this game. It wasn't the skills players. It wasn't the secondary. It was the fact that Chambliss had all sorts of time to throw and or run whatever he wanted to do. And on the other side, you didn't see that from Jake Retzlaff as well.
And like we said, going into that game, that was the big key I think that you talked about before we even got to that matchup. And so credit to Tulane for making the college football playoff. We would have wished to see them do a little bit better, but it was exciting to at least be there, see the atmosphere, to have an American team for the second time participate in the CFP. And so hopefully as things go on, they'll get a little bit better every time they make an appearance.
Since you were on the sideline, I'm curious, what was the Tulane fan represented representation like?
There actually was a really
It
good
looked
amount.
great.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
awesome. I think that was like one of the coolest parts about it was pregame. We got to go out to like the tailgates and different things like that. And just even when the team got off the bus, like all of the coaches' kids were there. Like there was just so many fans from all over. So I think that it spoke a lot to New Orleans and Tulane fans that they made an effort to come and see their team play, and it was just really cool. Even in the airport the next morning, I talked to a couple people who were going back as well, and they were excited to have a team that represented them there.
Did you tell them to watch All-American and to catch up
well,
with everything
I told
you
you
needed?
a lot. I had Tulane fans tell me at the championship game that they were locked in to All-American. So Jake Retzloff's family friends watch All-American. So we appreciate you. We hope you're tuning in this week as well.
And we'll talk more about what Tulane has in fold for the future later in the show when we go through some of the coaching changes and what the future outlook looks like on the football side of things. But let's go through some of these bowls and how they turned out, starting with the New Mexico Bowl. The North Texas Mean Green, 12 wins on the campaign, most in program history, and they secure their first bowl win since 2013. They won the 2014 Heart of Dallas Bowl that year, but that was played on New Year's Day, part of the 2013 season. So they take down San Diego State 49-47, and boy, some of those same frustrations that North Texas had in the title game against Tulane popped back up again. Turnovers, drop passes, but here's the big thing. Outside of the mistakes that they had one key factor that they didn't have in the American title game, and that was a healthy Caleb Hawkins. He was a difference maker and ultimately one of the big reasons why North Texas built such a big lead that when San Diego State came back late in this game, they were still able to hold on.
Well, we talked about that being a key going into the American Conference Championship game is what will Caleb Hawkins be able to do in addition to that entire North Texas offense. And so the thing that excited me the most, too, was that so many of North Texas's key players played in this game. We talked about the bowl season and how some people opt out for different reasons, but I think it was so exciting to see this North Texas team finish what they started. Best season in program history. Caleb Hawkins looked healthy. He did a lot of things right. And the thing about the North Texas offense is that's how they beat people, is they create those big leads. So if there are mistakes later on in the game, they at least have some breathing room. They'd rather probably not make it that close, but they were still able to win with that score getting a little bit closer than they maybe would have liked.
Of course, Eric Morris takes the job at Oklahoma State a couple weeks prior to the bowl game. Once they even went into the American title game thinking about Eric Morris was already leaving. They had already known that was the case. It's not uncommon to see a rash of players hit the transfer portal, especially with the way that the calendar is in college football. And there are some teams that we're going to talk about in a minute that did see a rash of players hit the transfer portal. North Texas did not see that. Drew Mestamaker at quarterback. There was almost no reason he needed to play in this game. Caleb Hawkins at running back, Miles Coleman at wide receiver, Quentin Hammonds at safety. All of these guys, and that's not even just to name a number of guys that haven't hit the portal or had not hit the portal at that point, because there were a number of them that did the next day. But I have nothing but respect for those guys because they had no reason to risk their health, to risk their gameplay, and to go out there and play a bowl game for the school, but they decided to do so. And I think that speaks to, one, the young men that are representing the North Texas football team this season, and that will forever have their names etched in the record books for the 2025 campaign. It says a lot about the men that they are and the loyalty that they showed to a program that gave them a chance, that put them on a higher stage, that gave them a shot to go to the college football playoff, though they ultimately fell just a couple points short. I still think you look at this 2025 season, if you're a fan of North Texas, you could look at it with some frustration and you could look at it with some animosity just because of how it ended. You lose your coach, you lose so many players to the portal, you have a completely new program in 2026. But I wouldn't look at it that way. And I'm a grad of the school, and I'm a grad of the university. That was an unbelievable year.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun. I've never had so much fun watching and covering and cheering for a program that I was a student at. Not that I played football, but I was around the football team a lot. I've never had this much fun cheering for a team in North Texas athletics history. Even the basketball team a couple years ago when they won the tournament game. It's still incredible to see what they did, going from a 6-7 year last season to 12 wins, a berth in the American title game, almost and very much so on the cusp of making the college football playoff and winning a bowl game at the end of it when they didn't make the CFP. I'll never forget 2025 as a part of North Texas football history, and I hope fans out there view it the same way. Don't get mad at these guys. I saw some social media posts. There's a reason I'm on a soapbox right now. I saw some social media posts saying, forget these guys. Don't worry about what they've done because they're posting pictures now in Oklahoma State gear. I can't be frustrated by that enough. They stuck around. They finished what they started. And I can't blame them for going and taking the opportunity that was in front of them, the NIL opportunity that's in front of them. That's life-changing stuff. You got to take advantage of it when it's there. You never know when it's going to pop up again. So if you're a fan of North Texas, I encourage you, be happy with 2025. Worry about 2026 when it gets here. Neil Brown, the new head coach, he'll have plenty to say about that in the future. I believe in what he has coming to Denton as well. But in the meantime, just enjoy it while you have it and take advantage of a 12-win season for the first time in program history.
You went on a nice soapbox there, but I think you covered pretty much everything I was going to say. But I have one added point. I think the reason that you talk about this being one of the most exciting seasons, you wanted to cheer for these guys so much as an alum, I think it is about those people and their character of those players. And you look at what they did sticking around to play in that bowl game. I think the fan base got behind these guys during the season because of how good of humans they were. Like, look at the Drew Mestemaker story. That's one of the coolest stories in college football.
In my opinion, the best story of 2025. Maybe outside of an Army player saving somebody from a burning car.
I think
give that one. I'll give that one a little bit of grace. But in terms of pure football stories, Drew Mestemaker's right there.
Exactly. And so my point is, to tie a bow on your soapbox, is these were really good guys who were really great football players. They stuck around. They played in the bowl game. Let's pay attention to that and not anything else. And the other thing, too, is they did a lot for the university. Yeah. And so now they're moving on to, like you said, life-changing experiences. And it's something that, don't blame the student athletes, blame the sphere of college athletics and what.
Blame the system.
Blame the system. But we like the system because we work in the system. I am a employee of college athletics, so I won't bash the system.
Yeah, good for you. I don't like the system, and I would change a lot about the system. But that's not what this episode's about. This episode is about reviewing the bowl season, and that's going to go – you talked about the way that North Texas stuck around and these guys did not hit the portal. That's so rare nowadays from any program across the board, unless you're an armed forces program. And there was another one, Navy, in action. How about what they've done over these last 2 seasons? This was the perfect send-off for a senior class that changes the outlook of the program as a whole. And they get the win in the bowl game, 35-13, the final over Cincinnati, just dismantling the Bearcats in that Liberty Bowl, rather.
Well, I have to say, I think I got a little bit emotional watching this game because
we've
been covering this team with this group of seniors and Eli Hadenreich, Alex Teska, Blake Horvath, Landon Robinson, and you're like, oh man, this is the last time they're all going to play together. And for most of them, this is going to be the last time that they play football. And what they've been able to do at the Naval Academy has been so much fun to cover, so much fun to watch. And when we talk about high character student athletes, it's very hard to top anybody from either Army or Navy. And so just watching this game, and I was excited because we talked about how long it had been since they beat Cincinnati too. Just being victorious, this perfect send-off for that group of seniors. It was so much fun to watch.
Oh, they beat them down. They out-physicaled them at the line of scrimmage. They out-weaponed them on the perimeter. They took every single ounce of Navy football and what the midshipmen have done throughout the last couple of years, and they put it on display in front of everybody in that Liberty Bowl. And Cincinnati, of course, a team that once was in the American, went to the college football playoff as a part of the American, then jumped to the Big 12. This was just a little extra sweet, a little extra something by this Navy team to beat them the way that they did. I wasn't surprised in the outing. I thought Navy would win this game when previewing it and when talking about it. But the way that they won this game was impressive. Another power win, another opportunity to show, hey, I know there's a lot of people that may not care, quote unquote, about bowl games, and they're saying, oh, but we're playing the backups. This is one where it wasn't backups v. backups. We got a game like that coming up in a minute where the Americans still won. This was starters versus backups, and they made it look like that. They made it look like it was starters against bench warmers, and that's exactly what it was. 35-13, beat them down and put up 11 wins on the season as well.
So much fun to watch. They did exactly what they were supposed to do.
They did. And I also want to say Eli Heidenreich has accepted his invitation to go to the East-West Shrine game, which is going to be played in Frisco, Texas. I'm going to hype up Eli Heidenreich on my draft coverage so hard this year.
Heck yeah.
And it's not because I'm biased. It's because I've watched him play. It's because I've seen him up close over and over and over again, defy the odds, be better at what he does more than anybody else that he's playing against. And multiple times he has stepped up and been the best player on the field. And I can't wait to see what he does in the East-West Shrine game week. There are 4 practices where scouts and media and everybody are going to be in the building at Ford Center at the Star. I'll be there as well. I can't wait to watch him play. I can't wait to watch him take his game to the next level and show it out against some of these other prospects at the same time. I think he's going to show out. He's going to be one of the undersung and highly talked about Shrine Game participants this year. I can't wait to watch him take the NFL draft process and do what he's done all the way through his entire collegiate career, and that's put the naysayers to rest and continue doing what he's doing. I think he's worth a draft pick, no doubt in my mind.
I'm going to need like a full report back on how he does in the Shrine Bowl.
He'll be in my draft magazine that I write every year.
Fantastic.
He'll be. Oh yeah, we'll have some Eli Heidenreich conversations for sure.
All right, let's go. Next one, East Carolina.
So remember when I said bench warmers versus bench warmers? I hate using that term, but that's the case. These were reserves playing reserves because both teams, Pitt and East Carolina, had people sitting out, starters sitting out because they hit the transfer portal or were planning to do so. East Carolina said, I don't care if you're from the ACC. I don't care if we're missing players. I don't care if you're missing players. We're still going to go ahead and win this game and put together back-to-back bowl wins for the first time since the mid-'60s. This was such a fun and wild game to watch. You and I were texting in the middle of this just by how crazy this game was from the jump.
Well, I think for me, I have to apologize to East Carolina a little bit because I think I was doubting them a little bit. And I know. I'm going to admit it, though, because I have a point to all of this. Going into this game, when Caton Hauser said he wasn't going to play, I was like, oh, man, I know they're really good, but he really got that offense going. And as I was watching this game, I was like, oh, they have a great chance to win. The biggest thing for me was the way that the defense played. And I know we're going to talk about that even more in a little bit, but I think that's what kept them in this game. So when there were backups in terms of the quarterback spot, now Anthony Smith is not a backup. We've seen what he's done all season long. But when there were backups in, the defense kept the Pirates in the game so that the offense could find ways to score. And there were just so many funky plays in this game as well that I was like, this is I'm confused, but I think I like it.
I love the way you outlined that because this was all about the defense. The East Carolina defense did nothing but just stifle everything that Pitt wanted to do in this game. They couldn't run the ball, less than 3 yards per carry. They couldn't hold on to the ball. They had the interception of Heichnell early in the game. They had the early turnovers. They had good plays on special teams. They were just all over the field. But then you turn around and you look at the way that East Carolina, they didn't have to do much on offense, but they did just enough. And that guy named Just Enough is also Anthony Smith. Out of 177 passing yards in the game, Dida, by the way, who I think just has all sorts of swagger. I know he only completed 8 for 17 passing, but he had 177 through the air. 156 of those 177 went to Anthony Smith, including both touchdowns.
Yep.
All you need is just one guy to step up and be an Anthony Smith. And there's a reason we've talked about him almost every time we've brought up East Carolina this year. Talk about being worth a draft pick. I think he's worth one too. Just an innate ability for yards after the catch. He uses his body well to catch in traffic. He's a good route runner. Maybe not the best route runner, but he does enough to build separation. And then when you get the ball in his hands, there's not a whole lot you can do. He's got great vision, can take off. He has some good acceleration. This is an all-around player, and you saw it in this game. His final real so long to the 2025 season was just a masterclass. They don't win that game without Anthony Smith. They don't win that game without Ditta just doing the bare minimum of what they needed him to do. And then, of course, the defense and everything that they did in that game was incredible.
Well, Ditta, a redshirt freshman, so excited to see what he's able to build on in his career if he stays at East Carolina. But to your point about Anthony Smith, he's such a cool story as well because he starts at NC State and he gets some reps here or there, but he's never the guy. He comes to East Carolina. He has 2 great seasons that he puts together, especially this last one. And I think it's so much fun to see when guys can progress and have their careers end on a high note. And with the way that he works, when we were talking to coaches throughout the season, that was one of their biggest things that they said is like he always has this mindset of how can he do one more thing to get better? Yeah. How can he always improve? And you see his progression from the time he arrived at East Carolina to when he's going to leave East Carolina, him just getting continuously better. And so it's so cool in that bowl game to see him have the impact that he had because you want to see the people who put the work in reap the rewards of it.
And he did it multiple times. It wasn't just a one-game flash in the pan sort of scenario. He put up 136 yards against Coastal Carolina, put up 150 yards against Tulsa, put up a 143 against UTSA, and he put up the 156 against Pitt in the bowl game. Over and over and over again. And even if he wasn't putting up 135 or more yards, he was making the big plays. He was late game scenarios, clutch touchdown grabs, first down late game scenarios where your season's on the line, and he was always a big part of that. So I think Anthony Smith's another name that I think in the draft you got to keep an eye on, and he had his best show-out performance at the end of it all against Pittsburgh in that bowl game. Give all sorts of credit to East Carolina because they didn't have everybody. They didn't have their whole cast and crew going into that matchup, but they still took care of business, and they take down a power program who was also playing some backups. Backups feed backups, and the American still wins. So don't tell me that the depth in these Power 4 schools is any better than what you got at the American Conference. I'm going to mic drop there and move on to UTSA.
That was a fantastic mic drop. I think you should reiterate that one more time, but then that would defeat the purpose of the mic drop.
Thank you. UTSA also got a bowl win. How about Jeff Traylor? Get on your horse, Traylor, down. He goes to the 20, to the 15, to the... No, he stopped at the 20. But I love seeing his excitement here.
Look at the defense from the sideline reporter.
Oh, they threw him into a Serve Pro banner, though. Get your coach off the ground.
Oh, my God.
What are we doing, guys?
This is incredible. I didn't know that Jeff Traylor had that much speed in him. Like, really getting away from college athletes.
Obviously, he didn't get away. He
was blocked by the sideline reporter. That's what I'm saying. Like, he had somebody stop him. He didn't want that ice Gatorade bath.
He didn't want the smoke?
Nope.
No, not that time. Third bowl win for UTSA in a row. And how about Jeff Traylor? We've talked about how they've underachieved in certain seasons. They continue to win games late in the year, and that's what always gives hope going into 2026 or whatever the year is after that is, they started so poorly. They lost some games they probably shouldn't have, and then the more time goes on, you keep looking at this team. It's like, man, they should be better than what their record shows.
And I think it was the big question mark we had all season long because we looked at them early on and we knew that they lost all their starters on defense, but offensively there were some pieces there. And so we thought that maybe they could be a contender at the top of the conference. And so I don't know. If I'm Jeff Traylor, it's like you can't be upset in terms of you had another winning season, you won another bowl game, but he's Jeff Traylor. He's going to be upset that they didn't compete for an American Conference championship game as most coaches would. You wouldn't be a coach if you didn't have that drive and wanting to win. So I think for me, it's like, how can UTSA, as we move forward, and I know we're going to talk about looking ahead to next year, but how can they peak earlier, I guess is my question, because they put themselves in the hole and then they have to win all the games on the back end. What if they started, this is a very simple question, it's not as easy as I'm making it sound, but how can they start off better and then continue that success throughout the year?
Well, I think part of what made it so tough for them is, one, they had to replace so much, especially on the defensive side of the ball early in the year, that it had them struggle, where the offense still looked fine, but they struggled to find their rhythm on the defensive side of the ball. Then when the defense started to figure things out, the offense couldn't figure it out. And they struggled with some injuries up front. And there were a couple elements there where I think they got better in certain areas as time went on. But I think they'll. I don't want to jinx anything. I think they'll benefit from having some returners. Now, Owen McCown has not entered the portal. He looks like he will return for his senior season in San Antonio. He's been fantastic. We've talked about him a number of times. He may be, depending on who transfers into the American, he may be the number one quarterback in the conference across the board. He might be the number one returner regardless at the quarterback position. So they're already going to benefit from that. They are going to lose Robert Henry. He's declared for the draft. He will be another Shrine Bowl possibility, and I'm going to hype him up too because I think he's a good running back possibility in the draft. But when it comes to UTSA, I don't think they'll have to replace as much this season as they did last season. And that's what I think will give them a bit of a head start, especially when you have some leadership, you have some guys that will return and that played pivotal roles for Jeff Traylor in this season. You're going to have a little bit of a jump over some of these other schools like Tulane, like North Texas, like East Carolina, like South Florida that are going to replace not only their coach, but their core talent, and then Navy and Army, who are graduating a lot of guys at the same time.
Well, I think it's not only the fact that UTSA should return people, it's the fact that Jeff Traylor and his staff are really good at developing players. And that's one thing that so many people talk about when they talk about Jeff Traylor. That's why he gets frustrated when schools take his players for more money, because he said, I put in all the work to make these guys as good as they are. So I think if he can retain players, he's going to develop them. So even the good players might be even better by next season.
Okay, let's do a little bit of a exercise here, shall we?
Okay.
I'm going to name the teams that finished above UTSA in the American Conference. And I want you to tell me if they're going to look significantly different than they did in 2025 as they go into 2026. Tulane.
Yes.
North Texas.
Yes.
Navy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're losing all those
They're losing
seniors.
all sorts of guys.
Yeah, I was on the coach leaving train.
Exactly. But that's the thing.
Two.
It's got to be one or the other.
Yeah,
it's either coaching or personnel.
Right.
East Carolina.
Yeah.
Different. Maybe not as different as those first three.
Yeah, the first
but
three
different.
More...
They at least get to keep Coach Harrell and see what happens there. South Florida.
Yes.
Army.
Yeah.
Probably the same kind of thing. Keep your coach. A couple guys leaving, graduation.
Yeah.
Maybe not as severe as Navy, but they're losing some guys. And then Memphis.
Oh, yeah, completely different.
Completely different. UTSA is in a good spot.
Right.
Shockingly enough. And I know all year long we've talked about how they've underachieved and they haven't been the team that they hope to be over these last two seasons, really, both in 24 and in 25. I think 26 has the potential. They have the potential there, and they have the returners should they stay. There's a lot of up in the air when it comes to collegiate athletics, as we know. I think they could be something in 2026.
Yeah, and I think when you look at all those teams that finished ahead of them, the only ones that I'm like, maybe not that different are East Carolina and Army.
Yeah.
But even then, they're still
both of them are replacing quarterbacks.
Exactly. So I think that is the one little difference. Helms will still be there for Army. He's a junior.
Yeah, you're right.
So that's like the only
for some reason, I
thing.
thought he was a senior.
Yeah, I forget. There's too many names. Sometimes.
That's big for them, actually.
Yeah.
Army and UTSA.
And East Carolina, because I think Harrell's a really good coach. And
absolutely.
I think that's what the bowl game taught me. So, but anyway.
Let's move on to Army.
Yes.
I thought you were going to transition into Army that way. I thought you were just going to talk about.
I could have gone right there.
Here's your video you were talking about. Tell me about this. What's going on here?
Okay, they're trying to sneak up on Jeff Monken, and I think he might be faster than Jeff Traylor.
What?
You know what? Here's the thing.
He's in great shape, though.
In the Army, they should have been sneakier than this. They weren't sneaky enough. Like, see, they're trying to be sneaky. Like, you go through special training.
They even turned out the lights.
Yes.
No.
Like, you literally go to class for this to figure out how to sneak up on enemies. And you can't catch your coach? Look at the.
It looks like they're playing tag. Like they're on the. Oh my gosh, they made contact there.
I know, that's what I'm saying. This one's even better than the trailer video though, because it's the initial like grown men trying to sneak up on somebody, like 5-year-olds, right?
Yeah. These guys are 6'4", 235 pounds, pure muscle. And they're like, don't worry, guys. We're going to be nice and sneaky here.
Yeah. Even though they're trained to be sneaky, they weren't sneaky. They looked like 5-year-olds trying to be sneaky and whispering really loud.
Yeah.
And then the fact that they couldn't catch their coach. Now, I will give Jeff Monken some credit. Like, he had some good, like, change of direction there. Yeah.
I'd tear both of my ACLs if I ran like that.
Like, pretty quick. And they do have the heavy Gatorade tank or Powerade. I don't know what was in there. So I will give them that. But, man, like, to get juked that many times by Jeff Monken, like, Come on now, guys.
Yeah, that was an incredible video. I do want to apologize for everybody that attended this game because, one, I think I jinxed it in the bowl preview show. I said I looked at the weather going into this game when we recorded the bowl preview show, and I said the only thing that would be better for this game at Fenway Park in the atmosphere is that if it would be 20 degrees and snowy, which it doesn't say. It's going to say, I said it looked like it was like high 40s and sunny, and you even brought it up. You were like, it's Boston. Don't count the weather out until the weather's there. And sure enough, it was snowy and in the low 20s.
Yeah.
So I apologize. That one's on me, everybody. I grew up in Texas.
I
What
was
do I
gonna
know?
say that was a basic Texan mistake.
My bad.
I don't even blame you.
Yeah.
I've had way too much experience with Boston in December. I just didn't trust it.
But here's the thing. Did it make it a better atmosphere watching
Heck yeah.
the Fenway Bowl in 20-degree weather and
'cause
snow
I
in the
was
background?
warm, yeah.
Heck yeah.
I
It
wasn't
was
there.
awesome. This was such a cool game to watch, and it was a great back and forth, too. We've gotten to know this UConn team for quite some time now. They didn't have Coach Mora because he moves on, takes over a coaching job as well. But I think when you come to the fruition of what we've said already throughout bowl season is there's still going to be reminiscences of these coaches even if they do leave that specific program for another program in their bowl game. Army, they were exactly what you anticipated. Ran the ball, physical on defense, continuously challenged that UConn team, and they made it happen. This was a Army caliber win, and I loved every second of it.
I think it was a good bow to their season as well because they lose the Army-Navy game in heartbreaking fashion. The week before that, they qualify for a bowl game against UTSA, or I guess it was 2 weeks before that? Yeah. Qualify for the bowl season with the win against UTSA in the Alamo Dome. So they've had this year of just ups and downs, like bad losses, big wins.
They played one of the best games of their year against Navy and lost.
Exactly. So I think that's heartbreaking. They're able to end on a high note with a win in a bowl game. And so I think it bodes well for their upcoming season because, like I said, Cale Helms returns. They have a couple other people, so they do lose some people. But I think it's a good way to end it and gives them a little bit of hope going into next year because unlike a lot of other schools, they don't have to worry about the portal quite as much. They still have to worry about it. We saw Kanye Udo leave last year, but still.
Yeah, and that's a rare scenario when it doesn't always happen that way. And I think the way that they ended the year was especially encouraging because they had the big win against Air Force. They had the big win in a tight game against Temple. Then they lose a really tough one against Tulsa, and then they turn around and they beat UTSA. So one-score games. They had one-score games in their last 5 regular season matchups before going and playing UConn and then just destroying UConn, putting 40 burgers up on the board. Even though it's cold outside, they were still grilling 40 burgers in the Fenway Bowl. So I think there's a lot to build on there. And, yeah, apologies for me because I for some reason thought Helms was a junior. Was a senior. But the fact that he is a junior and he got better as the year went on. I'm looking at his numbers now. The passing game was more efficient as time went on. The way he was able to utilize his legs more efficient as time went on. 159 yards against Tulsa, 100 against Navy. He only had 45 against UConn, but that was mostly because everybody else started playing at a higher level from a run game standpoint. As long as they get some guys back on the offensive line and they keep that same brand of physicality and that same brand of discipline, I think Army's always going to be a contender in this conference, and especially with the amount of turnover that we're going to have going into 2026, I think Army has a chance to be primed at another run with a returner at quarterback and some of those elements.
Absolutely. So to tie a bow on this season, let's recap the American in 2025.
Wow. What a year. Oof. It was really so much fun, and I know you can speak to this as well. I've always been a fan of college football. Always been a fan of it. I grew up watching college football. I used to sneak into Baylor games because I grew up in Waco, Texas. And it was back when Baylor wasn't very good, and they were giving out tickets for free and coupon books in Waco just to get people in the stadium. This is what makes college football great, is when you have conferences like the American step up and put up such quality football that it goes against the narrative. And the narrative right now in college football is that it's all about the Power Four. It's all about these teams with resources and all about these teams with names and name recognition and high-level coaches. But I think the American proves something this year. And, of course, you're starting to see it now with the transfer portal and how these teams are getting decimated by power programs plucking from the group of five and from the American specifically. They put together such a quality season that you could argue this was the best all-around year in American Conference history at the football level. And that's after they've lost significant teams to other conferences. That's a huge credit to Tim Pernetti. That's a huge credit to these coaches, to the athletic departments across the board, to the athletic directors and the staff beneath them in each of these programs. I had so much fun covering this season, and this is not just to blow smoke because the season's over and I'm sitting in Studio A. This was legitimately an impressive year across the board, and some of the best teams that we'll talk about for years to come came out of the American Conference in 2025.
Well, I think to your point, when you talk about, the conversation is all around the P4 teams and why they're so important, if they are so much significantly better than the American or teams in the American, then as you said, why are those Power 4 teams taking all of the Americans' players? Why are they taking all of the Americans' coaches?
Yeah.
I think that losing those players and coaches actually speaks to the high quality of the American this season and throughout its existence, because these coaches and players are very high quality. And we saw it this year. You saw all of those stats, the wins over Power 4 conferences, 5 teams with 9+ wins. And I think from my perspective, not only just what they put on paper, it was just so much fun to cover these teams, because I think the thing that we all love about college football is the little bit of grittiness, the little bit of toughness from teams. And I think the American exemplifies that better than really any other conference, because they usually are the underdog in some of these big games. And even within the conference, there's underdogs who, like UAB upsetting Memphis at that point in the season. And I think those stories, the players, the coaches, the people, that's so exciting, and it's so much fun to be a part of. It's so much fun to watch. And we use the word chaos all season long because that's what it was. But that's what we love about college football, right? Is that it is chaotic. Why would we want something to be predictable? Why would we want just one team to be dominant throughout? And I don't know. I'm so grateful to have been able to cover these teams and just sit here every week and talk about it with you, because I think that this conference matters, these players matter, the people matter, and we got to highlight that.
And it's going to be tough moving forward because these teams have been so upended by the portal and by coaching changes. We've seen it in basketball. I mean, take a look right now at some of the top contenders in power conferences in the Big Ten. The Michigan Wolverines in basketball. Awesome team. Great team across the board. Their head coach, Dusty May. Where was he before he was at Michigan?
Florida Atlantic.
He was at Florida Atlantic playing in the American Conference, coaching in the American Conference. One of their best players right now, Yaxel Lindeborg. Where was he?
UAB.
UAB. He's playing at a super high level for Michigan. How about Texas Tech? Head coach Grant McCaslin. Where is he? Where was he?
North Texas.
He was at North Texas. Ross Hodge in West Virginia, his first year. It happens in every sport, but in football this year specifically, because of the year that they had on the gridiron in the American Conference, it's going to be tough, and it's going to take a bit of a transition period. It's going to take a little bit of time to maneuver some of these programs. Tulane, North Texas, Memphis, not East Carolina because they kept their coaching staff, South Florida. Those 4 schools specifically have been the cornerstones, at least this year, of the American Conference. Now they're going to have to transition, and there's a lot of pressure on those programs to take a step forward. But they're leading 8+ win teams, and these coaches' staffs across the board left these programs better now than they were previously. North Texas would have never been in the running for a coaching hire like Neil Brown until the success that they've had recently. It is a polished job. It is a job that you're taking over at the height of its entity. I'm excited to see where these 4 programs go and where they end up going from here. And I'm excited to see where the coaches that just left those programs, I'm excited to see what they do in the Power 4 level, because I think the more success that they have, the more respect this conference deserves across the board, because it's good football. The gap, the discrepancy is not nearly as much as it is. And a lot of times, Power 4 schools, the best thing that they do on a year-to-year basis is they have the right logo on the 25-yard line. I think that American logo, the American logo and what they have at the 25-yard line is pretty impressive at this point in time. So, again, soapbox, it's a soapbox type of day for me, and I'm excited to see where the American Conference takes a step forward in football. Should we get to hoops?
I think we should. We had a lot of soapbox. I think it's
Football.
time to talk.
Thank you. Mwah. Love you. It is time to move on.
You just hit the camera.
Did I?
Football.
I don't think I hit
my
the
camera in front of me.
I don't think I hit the camera. There we are. There's basketball. Is there a logo here? There's a basketball right there.
Ball is life.
Ball is life, baby. All right. Let's take a look at the men's preseason poll. Memphis, who, of course, ran the table last year. They were regular season champs. They were tournament champs in the American. Picked to win it all again under Penny Hardaway and company. How about South Florida? Number 2 team on that list. I like that South Florida team. We'll talk more about them later on. I actually get to call them game tonight against North Texas.
I'm excited for that game. I might have to stop by and
Please do.
see what happens over there.
But yeah, lots of intriguing numbers here. Which one do you think stands out the most when you take a look at the 13 teams as a part of the American Conference basketball slate?
So, who do I think is going to be good in terms of stands
Yeah, just
out?
which one stands out?
Yeah,
What's the most intriguing name where it's placed?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would have assumed Memphis would have been in that spot. I think Tulane is at a really interesting spot for me because I think, and we'll get into it a little bit, but they finished their season on a high note, in my opinion, last year. They got better as the year went on, and so they returned some of those key players. So I like them in that 3 spot. I think they're worthy of it. I think they might even be able to contend for an even higher spot as the season goes on.
Well, they also have Brumbaugh,
right.
the player of the year preseason in the conference. There's a reason why they're legitimate. UAB just defeated South Florida earlier this week in a overtime, back and forth, double OT affair where both teams finished above the century mark. And so I think when it comes down to it, let's take a look at the standings. When it comes down to it, this thing's wide open.
Oh, yeah.
Across the board.
We talked about chaos in football. How about some chaos in basketball? And I think this is an early sample. You see there's 3 teams right now sitting at 2-0. But I think for me, I need even more of a sample size. We'll break down what we think about some of these teams. But I think when you look at the non-con records as well, those are hard to determine because somebody like Memphis, who was 7-7, played I think 5 ranked teams in that non-conference slate. So I think it's exciting to see. There's 3 teams that are 2-0. In a week from now, that won't be the case. It'll be everywhere.
There are 3 games that have already happened in conference play. Remember, as you look there, each team has played twice in conference play, and there are 3 games that stand out to me across the board, except for South Florida and East Carolina. They've only played 1. Number 1. Memphis and Rice.
Ooh,
down to the
Owls.
wire, 2-point game. Memphis holds on, squeaks through to get to 2-0. That's a Rice team that was picked to finish 12th out of the 13 teams, and they pushed the number 1 out of 13 teams all the way down to the wire. That's number 1. Number 2, Charlotte defeats Wichita State. Wichita State, a team that was picked in the top 5 of the preseason poll. Charlotte beats them on a buzzer beater, which we might see in top plays a little bit later on. Great play at the end. Charlotte, picked last out of the 13 teams, has already beaten a top 5, quote-unquote, preseason poll team in the conference. And the last one for me, the team that I think, seeing them in person, 2 teams that I've seen in person, one that I've been extremely impressed with, one I want to see more from, Tulsa. I've been nothing but impressed with Tulsa and Eric Conkle. I watched them up close and personal a couple weeks ago. I think they are a high-level team, and I think they have every piece possible to make a run in conference play and to possibly be an NCAA tournament team. I think that's possible. North Texas, a team that I've seen in person a number of times. They play incredibly good defense, but they got to find some scoring. They don't score the rock the way they probably should. And a part of that is one of their leading scorers, or what was anticipated to be one of their leading scorers, Will McClendon, goes down early in the season with a torn ACL. So you got 2 teams facing each other. I've been so impressed with Tulsa. I want to see more with North Texas. North Texas ends up winning that game 72-67 in North Texas at the Super Pit in Denton. So 3 games that have already happened, and it completely upends everything else we've talked about in this conference. I think from top to bottom, I'm not counting anybody out at any time. I like John Jacobs at Florida Atlantic. I like Michael Schwartz at East Carolina. Both of those guys are a couple years into their deal trying to make something happen. Of course, you've got first-year head coaches in a number of different spots, most notably South Florida. Brian Hodgson and what he brings to the table, taking over for Amir Abdur-Rahim after, of course, he passed away last year. They had the interim situation. Now they've got an entirely new staff at South Florida. It's wide open, in my opinion, because there are some great coaches in the conference that are just now establishing their system, their rule, and they're trying to chase exactly what Memphis did last year, and that's win the regular season and win the tournament as well.
And I think in terms of Memphis, they're always consistently at the top. And I think they have a lot of good pieces. But same thing that happened last year. They have an entirely new roster. There's not a single returner on that Tigers team. They're still picked at the top because of the way that Penny Hardaway is able to recruit and bring guys in. So I'm interested to see how quickly can he get those guys to mesh. It's something that we talked about a lot on this show last year. So that's a big question mark for me. I think I agree with you on Tulsa. Like what they were able to do in the non-conference slate. Oh my goodness. I remember you came in here a couple weeks ago and you said, I think they're legit, and we've seen it. But as you said, North Texas beats them. And then kind of going off of what I already said, that Tulane team is just one that I believe in. I think that Ron Hunter has done a really good job. Anytime that you think maybe Tulane's going to be really bad this year, they pick it up immediately and find ways to click and do well at the end of the year. And as you mentioned, Rowan Brumbaugh's back. So I think those three for me. And then I don't know, Hodgson at South Florida, I think he has so much respect in the coaching community, and he was able to bring a couple players over with him from Arkansas State that are already having an impact. So I know that they have a loss in conference, but it is so early. And I mean, hey, one of the 2-0 teams is Temple, and we haven't even mentioned them. So again,
and they were good last year. They were right in the middle of the pack last year, kind of took a huge step forward. I like what they've got going up there in Philadelphia too. So yeah, I thought the Tulane Florida Atlantic game that happened on Monday was great. Back and forth game. It was high energy. There wasn't a lot of people in the building. Tulane needs to get more support from your fans. Not that it's their fault. I think this basketball team from Tulane deserves more fan support, because I was watching that at the Devlin Fieldhouse, which is an awesome arena. Such a cool venue. It's so intimate and it's so real. I hope when the students get back on campus and they realize, oh, this basketball team's actually really good, I hope they show up and they show out. I'm encouraging Green Wave fans to take the same pride that they put in football and the way that they went to the college football playoff this year, put it in your basketball team, because Ron Hunter has that thing rolling. And I think they're going to be really good as the season goes on as well.
There's your call to action to the didn't you call the Tulane fans? No, you called the Tulane athletic department to give you a hot dog and a press credential.
Yeah,
right?
That's what I wanted.
I was like, oh, you're calling them to action again. But no, you were asking for a hot dog last time.
Oh, yeah. I've also, funny story, I have bribed an Uber driver to make it to Devlin Fieldhouse on time by breaking the law just because I was running late. My flight got delayed, and I had a broadcast, and I paid him extra to go on the shoulder in New Orleans traffic and get me to Devlin Fieldhouse on time.
I don't know.
That's the last time I was there.
Say that on air, but did you get a hot dog while you were there?
No.
Okay.
I didn't have time to eat.
All right, we'll have to get
Sat
Kyle,
down, threw on a headset.
We'll have to legally get Kyle back to Devlin Fieldhouse. Maybe he can have a hot dog then. But we went from soapboxes to rambling. I think we should maybe talk about women's basketball now.
Please.
I love talking about women's basketball.
Rambling?
Let's take a look at the preseason poll. South Florida, not a surprise after winning the conference last year, the tournament. UTSA coming in at number 2, Rice at number 3. UTSA won the regular season. South Florida won the tournament. So I wasn't really surprised that they were 1 and 2. I like Rice at number 3, especially coming into this season, because the thing that stood out to me about Rice was the amount of returners that they had from a team that made a run again in the postseason tournament.
Oh, I think Rice is the real deal.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think if I were given a vote in the preseason poll, which they don't ask me to do, but I would do it.
He wants that too. He
gladly.
wants a hot dog. He wants a vote. He's just asking
I just
for
want a vote.
today.
That's all I need. I just need a vote. But that's the thing. I'm not a coach. I just want a media poll. We just got to establish it. We'll work on that. I think my vote would have been Rice. And I think South Florida's the real deal too. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
They would have probably been number 2, UTSA 3. But Rice showed it against South Florida. They beat them 70-68 in their opening game of conference play. Rice ends up winning that game. Here's a look at the conference standings. 4 2-0 teams at the moment. Tulsa can move into that spot too. I like that Tulsa team too. They're kind of sneaky in the middle of the pack there. They had a good non-conference slate too. So with what we've seen so far, I think UTSA had 2 early one-score wins over Tulane, over Temple, but they don't look like they're the same talent level that they've had in the past. They're still a complete team, and by goodness, they are super well coached.
Oh, my goodness.
Karen Aston continues to just do her thing at UTSA. Super disciplined, super well coached, but I don't know if they have that upper echelon of talent that they've benefited from the last couple of seasons. I think they're going to get better as time goes on. I believe they'll be a better team in March than they are in January. with that being said, you better catch them now because they're already 2-0.
Yeah.
They played 2 close games. Whoever's next up on their schedule needs to catch them ahead of the pack because if you start playing them in late February, early March, I think that UTSA team's a team you want to keep an eye on.
Well, I think the big loss for them was Jordan Jenkins because you can't replace Jordan Jenkins with 3 players, right? But when you take a look, I was looking at their stats leading up to this episode. Of their 5 leading scorers, right, the top 5 leading scorers, Cheyenne Rose, returner, Ariana Hardaway, transfer from North Texas, Damara Allen, returner, Adara Udo, returner, and Mia Hammonds, returner. So you have those returners under Karen Aston. They're already 2-0 in conference play. Look out at the end of the year. That's to your point. I'm like validating it with even more because I think you just can never count them out with the way that she coaches. She's so good at what she does. Incredible
coach. And the way that they played last year was Jordan Jenkins and the rest.
Yeah.
Now the rest is supposed to be the focal point. And that's where being a team and continuously growing as a unit is going to benefit the Roadrunners as time goes on. I think they'll get there. Some of these other schools, East Carolina, they're kind of interesting. They're an interesting school to take a look at. They played North Texas last night, kind of a back and forth between 2 teams that you kind of still want to learn more of, despite what happens one way or the other. North Texas is a team that kind of struggled in non-conference play, didn't step up the way that they have in years past. They lost some weird games at home to Santa Clara and to Oral Roberts. So I think there's going to be growth across the board. You don't have that upper echelon player and scorers in the conference like we have these last few years. You kind of have teams and conglomerates and coaches and systems more so than just high-end talent here, high-end talent there, and then let them go, which means, just like we said on the men's side of things, it's kind of wide open whenever it comes to the American Conference and who's going to win the whole thing going into March, and then who's going to have that automatic bid, hopefully a couple bids to the NCAA tournament.
100%. I mean, just even to name a couple more, you talk about East Carolina, they're 2-0, Rice is 2-0, UTSA 2-0, but Charlotte's 2-0 as well. That's a team that finished in the bottom half of the American. And Tamika Reed's in her 2nd year. She was so successful at Jackson State. And so I'm interested to see what the 49ers are capable of doing this year because they have a coach and a coaching staff that knows how to win games. And they start off hot, 2-0 in conference play. And so, again, we have no idea. It is so early. These are just nuggets that we can talk about. But I am so excited to cover the women and the men this year because it is complete chaos, I think. Again, and what did we say we love about college football? The chaos. We love it about college basketball as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Charlotte because this is a team that last year was bottom in the league in terms of scoring points per game. They were bottom 4 in the league when it came to points allowed per game. They've taken a step up in both of those categories significantly already this season. And they're just 2 years removed from being 16-15 and making a run in the postseason. So I don't think it's out of the question. Remember, they were in the NCAA tournament back in 2022. So they have some foundation from the past and a past coaching staff to be something out there with the 49ers. I'm glad you brought them up because I think they're kind of a sneaky team in the back half of the schedule that they look for. Angie Nelp has Tulsa rolling in the right direction. Of course, UAB is always a team you got to kind of keep an eye on. They lost a lot to the graduations and the transfer portal. That's kind of a newly redone team. So back and forth, a lot of teams trying to find their footing. And then in my eyes, I think there's a big 3. I think it's Rice, South Florida, and UTSA. Those are the 3 that you got to have. And that's a South Florida team that lost Jose Fernandez a month before the season started to become the head coach of the Dallas Wings. So lots of movement there on the women's side. I'm excited to see how it turns out. Both the men and the women have some unique changes to their to their college conference tournament format. Let me get that right. Instead of all 13 teams making the conference tournament this year in the American, only 10 will make it, and you're going to see the regular season play such a big factor because it decides where you will start your tournament. Look at that. The number 1 and number 2 seeds in the regular season automatically qualify for the semifinals. That is wild for me to think about because they get 1 win and they're in the title game, and you get 2 wins you win the tournament and you're in the automatic bid going to the NCAA tournament.
And then the 3 and 4 get the quarterfinals bye, and then 5 and 6 to the second round. And I think that at that point in the season, there's a lot of games that you play before the conference tournament in college basketball. I think that extra rest could be really helpful to be healthy, to compete. And I think also, too, the thing I like about this format is that put up or shut up, right? If you want to find a way into the NCAA tournament, then you need to have a good regular season. I think this also allows the American to get their best teams in the NCAA tournament and have a chance to compete at the highest level. And so that's what I really like about this. It's also going to be going on at the same time. So both the men and the women will be playing March 10th through the 15th. So more condensed of a time. You don't have the women and then the men's tournament. It's all together. And so I think that creates a different element as well. And I think that I don't know. I like it. I like the difference. And I think I really like the fact that you have to earn your way into the conference tournament. I think it means a little bit more as opposed to, everybody gets in. Like, even if you win 3 games in the regular season, you get in.
But part of me loves that chaos.
I know.
Part of me loves the fact that anybody can get in and anything can happen. I mean, we saw last year that Charlotte won as the 13 seed over Rice, went up against Florida Atlantic and pushed FAU all the way down to the wire in the second round game. We've seen it in the women's side where the final team to get in makes a run for a couple of games there. Right. So I'm interested to see the debate that's always going to be there when these tournaments look like this is rust versus rest.
Yeah.
When you are a semifinal team, you're one of the top 2 teams in the conference. You've earned that right. You've earned that rest, and you're going to be on one side of things. You got to turn around and you got to play a team that's already played 2, maybe 3 games, possibly by the time you get to that point. It's different because you've had some teams especially on the women's side, the last couple of years that are top seeds and have continued to lose as time goes on. And they lose early in the tournament or they lose early in their rounds. Now you don't have that. Now you're going to have the top 2 teams waiting for the rest of the conference to figure it out, getting to that point. And then, of course, a title game spot's on the line by the time they take the floor. So the rust versus rest debate is going to be something I think a lot of people are intrigued with. And this isn't the only conference that's done this.
Right.
I've seen it from some of the other mid-major conferences in college basketball. I tend to be the traditionalist. I would rather just a tournament and then get there. But I understand the thinking and I understand rewarding the regular season because, man, some of these games at the end of the year, final weekend of February, the first weekend of March, man, those are going to be fun because there's going to be seeds on the line and you're trying to punch your ticket to the semis or the quarters or whatever it ends up being. I think it just provides another element of fans having to watch it and having to tune in to All-American for us to decipher what the heck's going to happen.
I think that's the main reason we did all this, right? So everybody has to watch All-American.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah,
appreciate you, man.
We appreciate it. That is not the reason that we did this. Let's just make that clear. I don't want somebody to clip the wrong thing and then I get in trouble for it. So that's all right. So anyway, that's the new tournament. We talked about football. We talked about basketball. I think it's time to talk about top plays.
Let's do it. Is it all football or is it all basketball?
It's all basketball.
Oh, let's go Hoops, baby. Get us started. Number 5, Maria.
Number 5. Let's take a look. This is Sophia Munoz way behind the arc. Time runs out. Bucket is still good. End of the first quarter.
That's a nice shot.
I know, right? Look at that.
That's like NBA caliber turnaround. She knew that was going in whenever it left her hand. There's no way you stand there if you don't know it's going in.
That was Caitlin Clark range right there.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark wishes. That's what's the case. All right, moving on. You saw East Carolina there. How about East Carolina here? Showed you a pretty good shot. How about a pretty pass all the way inside, behind the back, and the slam underneath ECU and the Pirates trying to make a run underneath head coach Michael Schwartz. That's Mbang with the dish.
To Giovanni Amajuru, who finishes off.
I'm glad you got that name.
I've had to say his name
I haven't had East Carolina yet.
So he was at media day, and me before getting on set, I was rehearsing it, and then I even asked him again. I said, "Say it for it. Giovanni Amajuru."
Very nice.
So,
you practiced it. You
lots
might
of
as well say it
practice.
multiple times.
Yes, and I appreciated him being patient with me at Media Day. We'll take a look at play number 3. We talked about those overtime games. That's off the tip in the second overtime. Joseph Pinion, right off the tip. How about that?
Absolutely. And incredible. I thought he was about to windmill it. You could see him think about it.
He thought about it.
Pinion thought about it. He had it kind of cradled in that right arm. He thought about the windmill. He decided, let me play it safe. We're in overtime. I can't mess this one up. Unfortunately for South Florida, UAB ends up winning this game, a statement win in the American Conference early. From South Florida on the men's side, how about South Florida on the women's side? I like the fact that you've sprinkled in some passes here, but there's nothing quite like this one. Behind the head. On the money. Look at the lead here.
Oh my goodness, that's
you couldn't have run it down there and handed it to her.
And you know
better.
What? You know what like really impresses me about it is she didn't even think about it. It was just quick off her hands, threw it to her teammate, and Ines Piper gets the bucket.
Looks like me in the YMCA gym.
Yeah, that's how you ball out like that.
Easy.
Yeah,
all
much
day.
Athleticism. The
so
most
much.
athletic person in the Youmans family. Sitting
exactly
next
the
to
case. Take that, Miranda. All right. What about number 1, Maria?
Number 1, we love a buzzer beater. We already had our passes. Here's Charlotte. Arden Conyers. You'll see him get the ball at the top of the key. He makes it.
Ice cold.
He also makes the foul shot after this. Final score 104-100.
Wait, they let him take the foul shot?
Yeah.
That's funny. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
They should have just let it. I guess there was time left on the clock.
There's like 1 point.
Yeah, 1.1 it looks like. But hand in his face, foul, and the 3. As a team that was picked last in the conference,
Ooh.
that's cold. That is cold work.
Look at that.
By Charlotte and the 49ers.
The pass from Mingo was pretty good too. We didn't even talk about that part. Like he was heavily contested with the pass as well, and gets it off to his teammate. They win the game.
This is the first 2 games of conference play for the men and the women. And we're already talking about some of these incredible moments. We saw this last year.
Yeah.
There were a couple games like that early last year. And it's just going to keep getting better and better and better as time goes on.
We're locked in.
Locked in. Basketball is here. Football is gone. We appreciate you joining us, but we will be here for the next couple of months leading you into Birmingham, Alabama.
Oof.
Playing host to the American Conference Tournament this year.
Heck yeah.
Not in Fort Worth, which I'm a little sad about, but that's okay. It's part of it. I'll see if I can get down to Birmingham. It'll be a little bit harder, but we'll see what happens. Let's see how it goes. But Maria, welcome back.
Welcome
Studio
back, Kyle.
A, better than ever. Zach, Corey in the back. Of course, Chris putting it all together. Appreciate everybody who had their hands in this one. We'll see you next week. More All-American from Maria Trivelpiece. I'm Kyle Youmans. Enjoy hoop season, everybody. It's going to be a fun one.